Well, for more on this, we cross to SABC News reporter Lulama Matya. A very good afternoon to you, Lulama. So the governor says that the framework has worked pretty well for South Africa for the past 25 years, doing a good job of keeping inflation lower. So why does he want to change it?
Welcome to the Cape Town International Convention Centre, and good afternoon, Nompo and SABC viewers. Yes, to talk to us more about the address that was made by Reserve Bank Governor Lesitsha Kganyago here, I am joined by the Deputy Reserve Bank Governor, Dr. Rashad Kassim. Welcome to the SABC.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Let's first start talking about the purpose of this biennial.
So as long as I've been at the central bank, every 2 years we have a biennial conference. And it's really part of saying, you know, the central bank is a knowledge institution. Once every 2 years we bring together prominent researchers locally and internationally to look at an important theme of the day. It turns out that, you know, this year we've done 25 years of inflation targeting, and that is the theme for this conference.
The Reserve Bank Governor earlier on said it has served well South Africa. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, most central banks in the world today adopt an inflation targeting approach. Why? It is a framework for communicating. It makes central banks more accountable. You develop a process where you kind of target, you have a numerical target, which is clear, and the public understands where you want inflation to be at.
If then that is the case, that it has served the country well, why are the talks of changing?
Well, the governor in several speeches has made it clear that our inflation target is on the high side compared to our peers. So many of our peers' inflation target is around 3%. And it's really, the process is to kind of have a look at whether it has served us well, whether we think in the future we have to review, relook at the target, refine it in the ways that we need to. This is a process that many central banks do. Regular reviews of whether the target should stay as it is or whether it should be revised downward or not.
There are also critics to inflation targeting. What would be the response of the Reserve Bank to those critics when the Reserve Bank Governor earlier on said it has served the country well?
Well, I don't quite understand some of the criticism of the inflation targeting regime. Some say that we should have a dual mandate. Some say you should target something called nominal GDP, which the public finds hard to understand. I think that any central bank has to have some idea of where it wants inflation to be, whether it's implicit or whether it's explicit. We've gone for an explicit inflation target. I don't know of any other central banks in the world that have done something differently. In most cases, it's an explicit inflation targeting. In some exceptional cases, it is an implicit inflation targeting. In very small countries where you're very dependent on the exchange rate, some would look at the exchange rate as an intermediate target. But in our case, most central banks do this because it's a very clear, logical way of keeping inflation in check.
In the last MPC meeting, the Reserve Bank did not change the interest rates. Whenever there's an opportunity to speak to the governor or deputy governor, South Africans would want to know what's in store for the future. Any cuts going forward?
I can't talk about that. We use a term. We say we're data dependent. We go to a meeting, we look at new numbers, we look at new risks, both upside and downside, and make a decision on that. So there's no such thing as I'm able to tell you that it's going to be unchanged, a tightening or a cutting.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Nompu, that was the Deputy Reserve Bank Governor, Dr. Rashad Kassim. With that, back to you at the studio.
All right, thanks very much, my colleague there, Lulama Matya.